very fortunate to have Karie Ford of the LYCRA company, Director of Marketing Communications. And she was probably the most important person in the marketing team when I was at Subway, because she made everything we did come to light in the right places at a very good value as our VP of Marketing. So, Karie,
Tony.
We're thrilled to have you on the digital accountability team with our longtime supporter and friend, Purush Papatla of the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And it's, the digital accountability project is pretty broad, but I think the team's got a good handle on it, and they are going to outline what they plan to do, but they're also looking for some feedback today. So let me turn it over to Karie and Purush.
So thanks for the introduction, Tony, and I'm actually delighted to be here and working with Karie. It has been a pleasure working with her over the last 3 months. So I'm going to actually just set it up, and she has done a bulk of the development so far, and I'm going to hand it over to her. So as far as the setup goes, I just want to kind of start off with this interesting title for this slide that we used in the past road shows on digital marketing accountability as well. It kind of plays off of the Stephen Hawking title, A Brief History of Time, intentionally so, because it almost seems like an eternity ago when you think about the first digital ad, less than 20 years ago, actually. But it seems like a very mature field already, with so much happening in digital. In fact, to the point that kind of playing off of the previous session on TV advertising, digital actually overtook TV advertising almost 3 years ago. And obviously with that maturity of the field, as all of you obviously are aware of, there are a lot of challenges that go with that. As a relatively new field grows that rapidly and to that size. And so we started thinking about it at MASB and wondering how we could actually help marketers deal with those challenges. If you can go to the next slide, Eric. And so just to kind of set it up, some of the major challenges are, perhaps the biggest challenge is fraud. And this is an article from the Wall Street Journal last September about how much fraud there is. And one of the biggest problems related to fraud is fraud by bots, and that's what the subtitle of this article is saying. That's a major challenge, and it's so big that by 23 it's projected to go to about $100 billion in worldwide losses to fraud. So that's one challenge that we thought we should be tackling. And if you can go to the next slide, Eric, and the other big challenge is, of course, that of measurement, right? There seems to be not much confidence among advertisers on whether they should believe the metrics, even from platforms like Facebook, in terms of what they're getting for the investments that they're making in digital marketing. So as I said, if you can go to the next slide, Eric, we have been thinking about this for quite some time at MASB. We did quite a few, if you would call, road shows with leaders of the industry to kind of get a sense of what are the biggest worries and concerns among marketers as far as digital marketing goes. And there's a small box at the top that talks about them. But they seem to be consistent with what a very recent survey just about a few weeks ago from eMarketer on challenges, right? These are all the challenges in order of the perceived importance and size among marketers. So we thought that we should kind of give a better framework for all of these challenges to deal with them and come up with guidelines that will guide marketers on how to address them. And Karie is going to get into how we're working on those. Karie, please take it away.
Great, thanks, Purush. And thanks, Tony, for the kind words at the start of this. It's been great getting to work with Purush and learning more about MASB. So just to start, this is an excerpt from our project charter. And what we're trying to do here is, as marketers are leaning more into digital to reach today's connected consumer, and even more so given what's going on with the pandemic, there continues to be increasing pressure to demonstrate the return on investment. And we know there's been successes in the marketplace, but we also know, as Bruce just shared with you, there's a lot of shortcomings, as it relates to the quality and the delivery and the measurement of certain areas within digital. So we're really, looking for ways that we can help uncover that lack of transparency and build more confidence. So at the end of the day, we can better demonstrate the contribution that digital provides. So this project is really, and here's just kind of a framework to look at it. It's all about identifying what those key challenges are and coming up with some solutions. And at the end of the day, what we really want to develop, with the expected outcome from all of this is really to come away with these practical, validated guidelines that marketers can use when they're going about planning and optimizing and measuring their digital investment. So we've started with a framework. What we tried to do, because I think as Tony said at the start here, it can be, there's a lot of different aspects when it comes to digital accountability, and it can really be overwhelming when you think about it. So Purush and I have tried to think about this in breaking it into kind of three buckets. The first being plan, which is all about, driving for digital marketing effectiveness and efficiencies. The second bucket is about protecting your investment. So what are you going to do to protect your brand and your digital investment? And then the third measure, what is the proper valuation that you want to put in place to ensure you're getting that ROI? So from a planning perspective, under that category, again, and I'll preface this is just a framework that is open for debate. As we build out our project team and recruit members, we want to get discussion around this. But again, just to start, it was a way for us to kind of categorize these different topics. So starting under planning, targeting, there's been so much advancement done with targeting to be much more sophisticated to ensure that you're reaching the right people. There's been reductions in wasted spend because of those sophisticated technologies when it comes to targeting. We want to delve into that to help provide some more best practices to marketers. And when you talk targeting, you also have to talk about the loss of the third-party cookie. And as that comes about in 2022, because of, frankly, raising more concerns over privacy, and Purush shared with us earlier, that's one of the biggest challenges cited by marketers. So despite all the benefits that third-party cookies provided marketers in terms of providing, that you're reaching the right person in the right, based on their user behavior, we need to really start thinking about, life after the cookie, and how can we help marketers get ahead of this change? So that really leads us into first-party data, and what can we do to be maximizing your first-party data? The move towards things like authentication or privacy preferences, all the things that you need to help establish and build that trust with consumers is really important. So you're seeing things like consumer data platforms become more popular as it helps marketers unify their consumer data. So we think, this overall area of targeting is a rich area for us to really, again, delve into to help to provide some guidance. Brand experience, going back to the basics, trying to figure out what's the most effective ad units to tell your brand story. And with such a fragmented landscape across digital, it can no doubt be challenging to create that emotional connection and have a connected narrative when you're dealing with so many different digital platforms with its fragmentation. And I just wanted to cite here, almost 70% of marketers said growth in digital advertising has come at the expense of the quality of the ad creative. So while storytelling isn't new, doing it in digital requires certain techniques and tools and best practices. So we want to dig into that. Programmatic, again, more and more marketers getting into programmatic makes a lot of sense. It's still just an area that's, where we can still have a lot of education in terms of how to properly set this up, how to properly steward it. If you think about understanding just all the technology and the components from, real-time bidding to demand side versus supply side, if you're considering bringing this in-house or continuing to lean on your agency, there's just a lot of considerations. And we think here, again, proactively helping marketers to think about these things as they do their planning and stewardship. Now I'll get to the next bucket is around protect. And this is really, deals with data integrity. So first and foremost, it's about ad verification. We know we always need to be doing this. We've got to ensure that our ads are appearing where they're intended to be and reaching the audiences that we wanted to reach. So ad verification, brand safety, data privacy, again, what are some of the guidelines that we can provide there to go deeper? Transparency, thinking about ways that we can help marketers provide guidelines on structuring things like third-party audits. Given that media is oftentimes one of the biggest spends for a company, it really is important to demonstrate that financial due diligence, and third-party audits are a good way of doing that, especially, as you look towards to working with your media agency. And then transparency when it comes to disclosures of transactions between agency and the marketers. I think, the ANA has done tremendous work here with their K2 intelligence study, and maybe this is an area where we can connect up with the ANA and see what learnings we can gain from that. So another focal point for us. And then ad tech service fees, as one report is citing that we're spending over $12 billion as an industry is spent on programmatic tech fees. So, about a third of programmatic display spend goes to fees, and totally we need to pay for that technology. And at the end of the day, ultimately, hopefully you're getting really good pricing efficiencies by going through programmatic. But the fact that you're spending so much on fees, you want to understand what are you paying for? What's the value that you're getting for that? And then the last area that we identified under this category of protect is about upskilling. And, it's not only about the technology, but it's also making sure you and your team are up to date on the latest developments and advancements that are happening across media and marketing and technology. And it's also this marriage of art and science. I think, we hear more and more how organizations today are really embracing digital transformation, especially given what's going on with the pandemic. And data has truly, really, getting that spotlight on them, in that it is a strategic asset for business. And it's important that we all have that mindset, and that's going to help inform better decision making, and at the end of the day, generate or create more value for our organizations. Digital governance is also important. There's a lot of blurring of the lines when it comes between, what's marketing's role versus IT, even with functional areas like customer service. So establishing a framework that helps lay out that accountability with clear roles and decision-making is really, really critical. And then under measurement, this is really about, again, there's been a lot of inroads made on the standardization of KPIs. So it's, we think that there's an opportunity for us to kind of pull that together, create somewhat of a reference tool for marketers, and look at measurement for, tactics going across the consumer journey map, and laying out those metrics and norms as a way to help marketers. And then, historically, marketing mix modeling has always been a really good barometer to look back and understand what's working for you in terms of driving the best ROI. There are some limitations, lag in terms of time analysis, in that you're looking back, and it takes time to pull all that data together, but there's been a lot of advancements being made to improve the speed of such analysis. So we want to look at that and uncover what are those things that marketers can consider. And then looking at, also with the increase in media fragmentation, things like data attribution modeling is key to understanding, which touch points are really having the greatest impact on conversion. So we want to explore the considerations there, and also maybe consider, take a page out of the success that direct-to-consumer brands are having in using data attribution models as they focus on customer acquisition costs. So again, this is our initial kind of framework, again, building off the work that's been done previously by the team, but also looking at what's happening in today's environment. We would, definitely welcome challenge and discussion around this. I think, Frank, if you want to toggle back to our timeline slide.
There we are.
Yeah,
Sorry.
okay.
There it
All
is.
right. So where we are today, we're at the summit, sharing this with you. We're gonna do a poll in Frank, I don't know if you want to pause there to do the poll.
Yes, why don't we go ahead and do the poll right now because
Okay.
we're running a little late. We're going to
Great.
extend the summit by 15 minutes if people can stay on. But what we'd like to do right now is actually poll you on these challenges. So we're going to launch this polling to get your feedback, and we'll hold this open for about a minute or two. Karie, maybe while this is running, if you would like to continue on the timeline.
Sure. So what we want to do over the course of the next few weeks is continue to look to recruit project members. So we invite all of you who have an interest in participating, please reach out and we'll talk in a minute about how you can get involved. We'll also, as I said, have more discussion around this framework. We might want to consider doing more formalized survey or research to help validate and help us prioritize these key challenges. And then Purush and I are talking about probably holding our first team meeting in April. And then over the course of spring into summer is when we'll start to kind of divide and conquer and have sub teams that are focused on the various topics. And the goal would be when we come back in the fall summit that we start to unveil pieces of this. We'll also look at where it makes sense, where we might want to connect again with our peer networks through the ANA, the 4As, the ARF, et cetera. And then the goal is, for the next, I would say 12 to 18 months is we will deliver, either quarterly papers or presentations with these guidelines. I think ultimately what Purush and I would like to do is have, a very strong working document that's a guideline for marketers to use across these various topics that we've shared. So that's in terms of the timeline. And I think the next slide is just going to talk about how you can get involved.
Yeah, so why don't we go another 10 seconds here on the poll, and then we can look at the poll results.
Okay, great.
Any final votes? Okay. So here are the results.
Okay, so it's good to see it's extremely important and moderately important. Good, 75%. I'm confident that my organization can adequately quantify the return. Still, there's question marks around that. So we definitely have room to improve. So hopefully with this project, we can help increase that confidence level. Right?
Yeah, so it looks like on the top 3 challenges, it looks like standardization of digital KPIs has come out very strongly with 75%.
Oh, great. Okay.
So we may want to send this to an even broader audience to get the sample size up for people that would be appropriate targets for it. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. We just wanted to get a feel for people here today.
Yep.
Okay, so
in terms of participating, definitely anybody who has a passion for this, anyone with expertise in digital marketing, finance, analytics, definitely welcome anyone to join. We're looking for feedback on the framework as we've talked about. Also, looking for help on acquiring data to validate the framework. And ultimately, as a participant, we'd love to help you promote as time goes on and we develop results and guidelines to share. Would look for you to tap into your network also to help promote. And hopefully when we get back to in-person events as well and participating there. So Frank is at the end of the session, there's going to be a survey, Frank, and there'll be information where you can leave your name if you want to be a part of the group. Is there anything else to add there, Frank, in terms of how people can sign up?
No, I think that's where we'll be, is on the survey at the end. Do we want to move just into questions?
Sure.
All right. So we have one from Kevin Richardson. He asks, will the project look specifically at viability of contextual targeting as a replacement for third-party cookies? Major players in the digital audience measurement marketplace are advancing it as a solution. What about changes in the role and value of marketing mix modeling relative to MTA with loss of third-party cookies? So moving forward into a cookieless world, or a third-party cookieless world, be more specifically, what do we think from a project perspective on targeting as a solution, if that will be looked, and also the impact on lift type studies and market mix modeling?
I think they both can be covered. As I mentioned, targeting is a big component here that we want to delve into and provide some guidelines, especially as the cookie is eliminated. It's important for us to think about how to, as it goes back to targeting and contextual targeting, if that is the place that makes the most sense as an advertiser for your particular campaign. But we will be delving into that. And then from the marketing mix modeling, again, I think we've got to uncover what impact that would have. So we can definitely cover that as well.
Okay. And we have a hand raised by Mike Donahue, so I'm going to unmute you.
This is one for Tony, one for Katie. Tony, since the Marketing Accountability Standards Board is all about validation, I think it would be a great thing if MASB found a company that is actually changing the whole practices in programmatic, and you know one and I know one, and actually go in there and audit and prove that everything they're doing is meets the marketing accountability standards. And Katie, I hope my question.
It's Karie, Mike.
Okay, Karie, I'm sorry. And Karie,
okay, I'm used to it. Don't worry.
Karie, as Tony knows, I've worked with him closely on all kinds of digital stuff, and I'm going to work with you and all at the end. But I have a document that that's basically a primer on everything programmatic, which Tony knows about, and he actually helped me put together. So I'll share that with you. But
great.
I think this initiative is extremely timely, and there is a company out there that is doing all the things that you have your chart, and it would be great for MASB to audit and tell the world that that's the case. Thank you. I mean, and there will be other companies doing it following this company, and there needs to be. But the fact that MASB is the Marketing Accountability Standards Board, and that's what this is about. Digital marketing accountability standards is what this company is creating. I hope MASB can lean in. Thank you.
Okay, great. I look forward to following up with you. Thank you.
Okay, well, those are the questions we have for now. So any final thoughts?
So we were going to do a discussion between Karie, Purush, and myself, but I think we'll hold that to the next meeting, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Thanks everyone for the time.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Karie. Thank you, Purush.
Thank you so much.